All right. All right, great. Welcome to the Sturbridge Conservation Commission meeting for the 18th of May, 2021. It is 6 p.m. and we are starting our meeting. We have a three-member board tonight. We're light, 2 members. Eric Gasper is here, Stephen Chidester is here, and Ed Goodwin is here. Dave Barnacle is not here, and Steve Alterman is not. So I will start off by reading the governor's little ditty. I imagine that's going to end pretty soon. Pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, GLC 30A, Section 18, and the governor's March 15, 2020 order imposing strict limitations on the number of people who may gather in one place, this meeting of the Sturbridge Conservation Commission will be conducted via remote participation to the greatest extent possible. Specific information and general guidelines for the remote participation can be found on the town's website. For this meeting, members of the public who wish to listen and or watch the meeting may do so either online via the town's on-demand video broadcast, on cable television, on channel 191, or dial into the meeting at 774-304-1455. Enter 1428 pound for the meeting number and 12345 for the access code. This meeting number will only be active during public meetings. No in-person attendance of members of the public will be permitted, but every effort will be made to ensure that the public can get adequately access to proceedings in real time via technological means. In the event we are unable to do so, despite best efforts, we will post on the town's website an audio or video recording, transcript, and or comprehensive record of the proceedings as soon as possible after the meeting. I will also read our our opening statement for public hearings so that we won't have to do that continually through the meeting. In the interest of saving time, the Sturbridge Conservation Commission will hold all public hearings tonight for work within a wetland, water body, or resource area, or within the 200-foot buffer zone to a wetland, water body, or resource area, in accordance with the Mass Wetland Protection Act, Chapter MGL, Chapter 131, Section 40, and associated in Town of Sturbridge Wetland Bylaw and associated regulations. We will not be reading newspaper ads prior to the opening of the first hearing for each project. The applicant is to submit proof of notification to abutters within 200 feet of the subject property line and proof of legal newspaper advertisement. If these items are not submitted, the public hearing will not open. Additionally, prior to the start of each public hearing, we will announce the location of the project, the applicant, and the applicant's representative. All right? Thank you. We are now at, what are we at, Beck? We're 6:04. We can start the meeting. First on the agenda, we have 110 Charlton Road. We have an RDA parking lot improvements. Becky, what do you say?
Yep. For the record, we did receive proof of legal ad posting and abutter notifications. Just generally to go over the project, and I can pull the plan up if you want me to, if you've already seen it. But all work is located within the existing parking lot. We similarly saw an RDA earlier this year or late last year for some additional repaving down there. Work includes milling and repaving portions of the parking lot that were shown on the plan. All work is within buffer zone. They do include sedimentation controls, and inlet protections on inlets near where they're doing the work. And they also identified stockpiling areas that'll be protected. For this project, I would recommend issuance of a negative number 3 and a positive number 5 determination. It's within the buffer zone, subject to the regulations, but will not alter an area subject to the act. Therefore, it doesn't require the filing of a notice of intent. And I would just recommend including that standard conditions for erosion control during work. I believe we do have the applicant on here. I'm not sure if they want to add anything to that.
Okay. No, you hit the nail on the head. Go ahead. Okay. Any, going to the conservation agents. Stephen, any comments?
Nothing from me. Thank you. Stephen Chittister.
Yeah. Eric, how about you? Eric? Eric, your sound isn't on. You're just sitting there.
Frozen too.
What?
I think his screen's frozen
Eric?
there.
Oh yeah, he's frozen. Or is it in some kind of a trance? Well, let me,
Oh, just had his mic go on.
Sorry about that. Lost my internet. I'm back.
We thought you were in some kind of a trance, Eric. We were worried.
Well, I thought the 4 of you were in a trance, so, or the 3 of you. Sorry about that.
No problem. Any comments?
Nope. No comments.
No, and I don't either. I have no comments. Do I have a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved, Eric Gaspar?
Let's check the public first.
Oh, yeah.
Right. All right. Becky, you get your first test. Check the public.
Yep, Erin's checking.
All right.
Good evening. Is there anyone on the public line that would like to speak to the 110 Charlton Road RDA? Anyone on the public line? Nope.
Thanks, Aaron. All right, now, let's try that again.
Motion to close the public hearing, Eric Gaspar?
I'll second that.
All right. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Stephen?
Eric Gaspar, oh, go ahead.
Yep. Go ahead, no, go ahead, Eric.
Eric Gaspar in favor?
Stephen Chittister in favor.
Ned Goodwin in favor. All right. Do I have a motion?
Yeah, I move that we issue a negative 3 and a positive 5 for the property, the project at 110 Charlton Road for the parking lot improvements.
I have a second on that.
Stephen Chittister.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Stephen?
Stephen Chittister in favor.
Eric?
Eric Gaspar in favor?
And Ed Goodwin in favor. Good. One down. What do we got for time? Becky, it's 6:08. You want to throw something in?
Yep.
Minutes, maybe? Something?
Do you want to go,
Whatever you wanna
do you want to do the minutes, approval of the minutes?
Oh, no, do what you were going to do. What are you going to do? What would you like to do, Becky?
We can probably do the emergency authorization and the minutes approval.
Okay.
All right, so number 9, the emergency authorization. This was an emergency authorization issued, requested by the Sturbridge DPW. It was issued. I did sign that. I worked with the chair of the commission on that. What this was for, there was a beaver dam that's recently been installed and modified that was causing flooding on Walker Pond Road and about to cause flooding on Wells Park Road. DPW did work with Beaver Solutions to look at a design for a water flow device. They did get approval from Board of Health, and we did issue that on May 12th to give them approval to move forward with the water flow device. I did provide copies of those documents, and the, authorization. They do have a requirement to, provide reporting afterwards, as required, since it wasn't issued by the full board, just needs to be ratified at this meeting. And the
All right.
water's being lowered approximately 1 foot, to alleviate the emergency.
Okay, any comments, members of the board?
Just out of curiosity, Becky, is this the same? This is the same area that we looked at last year for beaver dam issues, or is that a separate issue? Wasn't that right off of 49?
We looked at one off of Route 49 for DOT. I think that was a few years ago. No, this is the new area that hasn't been presented to you before.
Oh, okay. All right. Thank you.
Yeah, I think although Eric, I think this area had a problem with beavers some years ago. So it's coming back again, you know. But, anything else? Any other comments? Even
Nope.
I don't have any comments either. Do we want to go to the, town to see if anybody is on that would like to speak to this issue, Beck? No? Because it's probably way out of time anyway. So, all right. All in favor of approving this?
Eric Gaspar in favor?
Stephen Chittister in favor.
Ed Goodwin in favor. All right, Beck, we're going to go back to 263 New Boston, RDA, seeking determination on wetland status related to a potential vernal pool habitat.
Got 4 more minutes.
Okay.
Got a few more minutes, Ed.
All right. All right, have you got something else?
Sure. We can do the approval of the May 4th meeting minutes?
Sure. Motion to approve the minutes from May 4th. Eric Gaspar.
Stephen Chittister, second.
Any discussion?
Nope.
Seeing none, all in favor?
Eric Gaspar in favor?
Stephen?
Stephen Chittister in favor.
And Ed Goodwin in favor. I think we should have taken more time with that, gentlemen.
What? We don't have a tree that we can discuss or something? I'm sure we have something.
Yeah.
We don't have any, no letter permits on here.
Oh, wow.
So we can, well, we've got 3 minutes. Do you want to go over that codification project real quick? Or do you think that will take longer?
Sure.
Let's do it.
Okay.
If we get behind, then we'll be able to just work right along, you know?
Yep. So
Go
the
ahead.
codification project, this is something that we talked about before. And I recently provided you with the final redlined version of this document. The town is working on creating one document that houses all of the bylaws and regulations. Most of the changes were grammar related, et cetera. The one significant change that we did make in there, per recommendation of the company that's working on this project for the town, was the removal of the fee amounts within the regulations. So we did take those out. It was something that we discussed before. And those will be included in a separate document. So that way, anytime a fee change is made, it doesn't require a regulation change. And that's something that we did talk about it, you voted on it, and it's consistent with what the planning board's doing with their, with theirs. So I just gave you the final version because I thought it was necessary since we didn't see it since the last time we discussed it, before it goes to town meeting on June 7th, that the board review that and give a final approval on that version, on the final version.
Right. That's just an update, though. You don't want an approval now, right?
Well, I mean, it is going to town meeting on the 7th.
Yeah.
So you should have an approval of it before town meeting. So that's why I added to this agenda. I mean, we do have June 1st if you wanted more time to look at it, or.
Eric, would you like to make a motion?
Yeah, I move that we approve the changes pursuant to the codification process, and send it to town meeting for final approval.
Second?
Stephen Chittister, I second that.
Any discussion? The only comment I would have, Becky, is that why shouldn't it be the fee section, the fee status should be just a section of this. It would seem to me that there'd be a back section with the fees rather than totally separate fees. People are going to look at this and think there aren't any fees. But.
Well, no, I think it does.
Well, I think that was the point, right? To take it out so we'd have more flexibility to adjust them without
Right.
having to go through a complete process. I think it's smart.
No, I understand that part, but why couldn't you have it as a back section? It could be removed in any time.
I think that would still
Just a
require.
comment. What?
I mean, I think if it was like an
Go
appendix,
ahead, Beck.
it would still require a regulation change, even if you had it attached to it as like an appendix
Right.
or something.
It would be locked in if it was part of the document.
All right.
And let's face it, Ed, nothing in this life is free anymore, so nobody's going to think that it's free.
Yeah, you might be right on that. All right. With that, vote.
Eric Gaspar in favor?
Stephen?
Stephen Chittister in favor.
Ed Goodwin in favor. Now we are at 6:15, 6:16. Man, yeah, we're good tonight. We should make it a three-man board.
There you go.
263 New Boston Road, RDA, seeking determination on wetland status related to an area of pooling, potential vernal pool habitat. Becky?
Okay, so I'm just gonna share my screen and put up the image that Mr. Kravosky here provided. Everyone see that okay? Do you want me to zoom in, or
Yeah.
that's good? My screen looks different, so I'm just asking.
Yeah, I'm good. I can zoom in
Okay.
on my own.
All right, so this is an RDA. Since the piece posted the detailed agenda, we did receive receipt of legal ad and a butter notification, so we do have that to open this public hearing. We did perform a site visit out here on May 11th with Mr. Kravosky, the representative. During the site visit, we walked a good portion of the property. We noticed 2 areas that had a little bit of standing water within them. You know, it was minimal at the time. What the request is he's looking for a determination that there's no vernal pool habitat that's going to affect a potential project here. So, you know, performing the one site visit in May wouldn't appear sufficient to be able to kind of rule out those vernal pool areas. I understand that the representative, you know, is the newer property owner, and they're just starting to work on this project and really wanted the commission to weigh in to help them. My recommendation at this time is to issue a determination that, I mean, it would be a positive number 1. The area described in the plans is subject to the act. That therefore, if, you know, they were doing work there, they would need to file. And a positive number 5, same thing, subject for the Sturbridge Wetland Bylaw. And then I would recommend, you know, additional documentation supporting that wetlands do not support vernal pool habitat would be required to make such a determination on the status of that vernal pool habitat on the property. Unfortunately, due to the timing of the RDA coming in, really, you know, this isn't the time of year to be able to fully say that without having a better idea of what the area looked like in the spring at this time. We just have the documentation of that one site visit in May there. So that would be my recommendation. And then, I mean, as far as the project moving forward, you know, I'd recommend, you know, what we talked about is getting the wetlands delineated on site as soon as possible. and start some early coordination on what they're proposing out there and how, you know, a project can fit out there with the regulations, you know, like we noted on the site. I mean, it's a really steep drop off on the road. Access onto the site in relation to where the wetlands are and the steep topography there is going to be challenging for this site. And we really need to see where the wetlands get delineated and how potentially something could be planned on that site. So I highly recommend that they coordinate early once they get the wetlands delineated, probably file an ANRAD and start going through that process.
Okay, thanks, Beck.
You're welcome.
Glenn? How you doing?
Yes, hello, good day, Commission. Yes, excuses aren't the best here, but we only picked up the project just a couple weeks, just in time to file for the RDA. The client had just called, so we didn't have the privy to get the Commission out there any sooner, at least DBT didn't, because of the nature of just getting involved. That being said, the vernal pools that are on the property to the rear, or in this picture to the west, are viable. Their egg masses are still, even at the time that we looked at this thing, the spotted salamander egg masses were intact and not hatched out, the larvae, and the wood frog egg masses also in that large wetland where it says wood frog spotted salamander egg masses. Those had hatched and the polywogs were swimming, but the egg masses were still intact. As far as the jelly, these two small pits, we went out yesterday, as because I could only get a surveyor out with GPS as of yesterday, to take pictures, take elevations of the two pooling areas. The first one that I thought was relevant turns out to be approximately 6 inches higher. That's the picture, Becky, that I sent to you. Elevation 645.58. And the area in the back that had that inch of water in it, or inch and a half, whatever you want to say, was 645.05. I'm having the engineer, and he said to me yesterday, of course this was a rush, we are putting together an exhibit, and we dug to the water table. So we now have elevations of the water table just under the surface. It's a level plane out there. The water table within an inch or two is going to be the same as observed in the test holes that we dug yesterday, and the elevations of the stake and the orange ribbon that we placed, TP1, TP2. It'll all be on an exhibit. I'm going to ask for just one continuance, if possible, to present this additional information, knowing that we would have to move forward with delineation, ANRAD, topo, making the zoning question that came up with steep driveways, making sure that we can design the driveway and make sure that we can keep the structure, the roadway, the driveway, 50 feet from wetlands, both to the right and left as we would go down the hill. We did tape measure the narrow paths that we walked with the pines. It was also pine, black cherry in there. We had witch hazel, hay-scented fern, and such, other upland plants. What else did I have in it? Well, the other plants were black birch and some red oak. So we're confident in that there's an upland connection to the two uplands, between the upland at the road that goes down, eventually a connection, and then to the pine forest after that. We will delineate it. We'll look at the topo. We'll make sure that the roadway stays 50 feet away from wetlands to right and left, or north and south, and move that forward through the summertime, spring and summer. But I still would like to present that one additional documentation on elevations of the water table, understanding that the commission or the agent feels that March and April clearly is the best time to look for egg masses or fairy shrimp, any obligate species. But knowing that this area is a drained wetland, we'll send in one more exhibit as what the area looked like previous to the gravel pit. It was a pond. The area that says wetland with drained hydrology, or where that circle is, the larger circle. And the other area too, because we have a 25 to 35 foot cut of coarse gravel Hinkley soil, which was taken out to make that pooling area that we say wood frog spotted. That'll be all I have to say is that we do have a large drained wetland, and it will not support water long enough, not 2 months, clearly, or of any significant depth that our obligate species will use. And if I could get that continuance just to present that documentation, knowing that, well, I'll just leave it at that. If I could get one continuance to present the last of the documentation, submit it 7 days prior to the meeting, so we could discuss it briefly, and I won't say any more because I have already gone on. Thank you.
Becky? No, Becky, Stephen. I'm sorry. Any comments, Stephen?
I don't have any comments at this time, Stephen Chittister.
Eric?
My only comment is I'd be in favor of the one meeting continuance. I think they're going to have some challenges on that site, but if he's asking for one meeting to pull some additional documentation together, I'd be okay with it.
Thank you.
My point of view, in looking at the recommendation from Becky and from the walk, I'm willing to give Glenn a continuation, but I don't see an outcome that's going to change, through the summer. I just don't see that. I would see the, positive number 1 and a positive number 5 is what you'll get from us the next meeting, the meeting after that.
Yes, sir.
You know what I'm saying, Glenn?
Yes, I understand. We're partway through this exhibit. We present it to the board. You'll have one more in the file, knowing that there's a high chance that we'll be waiting till the spring of 2022.
Okay.
We understand these things.
Stephen?
Yeah, I have no additional comment.
Okay.
Stephen.
Eric? So a continuation?
Do we need to go to the public, or can we continue it with that?
Oh, we need to go to the public.
Yep.
Good evening. Is there anyone on the public line that would like to speak to the 263 New Boston Road RDA? Is there anyone on the public line?
Nobody on the public line.
Thanks, Aaron, Becky. So, Eric, would you propose a continuation?
Yeah, motion to approve a continuation until the June, is it 2nd meeting? June 1st meeting.
Thank you.
Stephen Chittister, I'll second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Eric Gaspar in favor?
Stephen?
Stephen Chittister in favor.
And Ed Goodwin in favor.
Thank you again for your time. Thank you for the site walk, and we'll see you then, yes, then. As the other hearings that I would be involved with, I believe, are continued. Potentially the Jennings, we're back on that, and then we're waiting for the peer review on the pro-con interstate towing one, I believe, and those are both continued.
Yeah. Before Glenn goes, Mr. Chair, if I might just for a moment, if we're not going to have quorum when we discuss Jennings, with Stephen recusing himself, do we just need to push those, and does Glenn need to stay on for those?
Becky, go ahead.
Yeah, we actually already informed them when I found out that Mr. Halterman wasn't going to be here today. We did inform that we weren't going to have a quorum to do any voting on that, and we're going to move the discussion to the next meeting, so that way you can have that discussion and an outcome, hopefully.
Okay.
Thank you again.
Glenn, we do have Robin on here. I did forward you, we can open the next public hearing. She's going to go over her peer review that did come in last night. So I did forward that to you this afternoon, so.
It must have been late. I didn't see it.
Yeah, it was late. I was in the field most of
interstate?
the morning. So we can open the next hearing and she'll go over the peer review for that. All right?
All right.
Glenn, Jeremy's on Procon. Can I jump in for a half second?
Through the chairman.
We got to.
I did realize,
Oh, go ahead.
Madam Chair, may
Yep. Let's go to, okay, 150 Charlton Road. Continuation, ANRAD, DEP file number 300-1088, Cobra Realty Trust, Procon, Interstate Towing. Becky?
So this was continued. This is an ANRAD where we requested a peer review. We do have Robin on from GZA, the peer reviewer. We did receive that report. I received it later in the day yesterday, so unfortunately we didn't have time to share it with the commission in advance, but Robin is on to just go over her review for you quickly.
All right. Robin, how you doing?
Hi, I'm doing well, thank you.
Good. Go ahead. You're on.
Great, thanks. I just want to first thank the Commission for selecting GZA to perform the peer review assessment. It's always great to work with you again. So I visited the site on May 3rd, and unfortunately I had the original site plan. I did not have the restoration plan with me. There was a mix-up in email addresses, so I didn't receive the restoration plan until after my site visit. The only issue with that is there were a few areas that I didn't look at on the site. But I did review the wetland lines that were delineated by Glenn, and it was an incredibly thorough delineation. There were 2 BBWs along the perennial stream. So there is the mean annual high water line and the 200-foot riverfront area. And then those 2 BBWs and the one isolated vegetated wetland that's shown kind of in the center of the site. But again, the delineations were, I didn't have any recommendations or changes for flag locations. A few one flag I was unable to locate, or actually the flag was on the ground, so it wasn't in the correct placement, but looking at the site plan, I could see where that placement was, and it looked accurate standing in the field. And then you'll see in the report that there were a few other areas where the flag ID had been ripped off, but the remaining flag was still intact on the branch. So everything was easy to find. The soil test pits were staked with very detailed flag labels. So it was very easy to see where hydric soils were, where, the depths at which Glenn was finding hydric indicators or upland soils. So it was definitely a very thorough and detailed delineation, more so than I typically see. So in saying that, now with the restoration plan, I was able to review that and just comments for locations of the ENF controls. I think the placement looks great. It looks like it's all placed in areas that will sufficiently protect the resource areas. The seed mixes were blank on the plan, but I am assuming that it'll be, typical of most restorations, and a wet mix in the wetlands and a pollinator-friendly conservation mix in upland. Then, Glenn can speak to that. One question that did come from you, Becky, earlier was the northwest portion of the site. And in looking at the plan, it was my mix-up, but I actually didn't realize that was included in the parcel. Because I looked at the initial plan, I saw the topo lines, I saw the stream, and there weren't topo lines or any details on that portion where that cell tower is. So I did not assess that portion. I'm sure Glenn, can speak to that as well, but, if the commission would like, I know you're planning on doing a site visit out to that site, so I'm certainly more than happy to accompany the commission with Glenn or, whatever the commission thinks is sufficient for looking at that additional area.
Okay, thank you. Becky?
Yeah, I think it would be useful to do the site visit, especially because we do have the restoration plan that's part of the certificate of compliance request, and we haven't looked at the site yet, so I think that would be good if we do set up the site visit. And, right, two ways to address that back area, is either, right, we could exclude it from this ANRAD and note it on the plan, or, right, we can go out there, and if there are no resource areas there, then, maybe just confirm that with that site visit.
No comments. Robin, thank you for the work, and Glenn, heck of a job. But your peer is complimenting you on your work.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Stephen?
Yeah, no specific comments from me. Thanks, Robin.
Yeah, myself either. I think from this, I think the site visit would be in order for the commission. Becky, when's our next planned site visit?
It's going to be May 25th. I'm still arranging the schedule, but it would be on May 25th for the next meeting.
Great, and we need a continuation to do that.
Thank you. We would request a continuation when it's appropriate through the chairman.
Thanks, Glenn. Becky, you want to see if anybody in the audience would like to speak to this?
Sure. Yep. Did Jeremy want to add anything in? I know he's on here and he went to comment earlier. I don't know if he still has.
Oh, okay. I thought it was going so well.
Yeah, I am. Robin actually took care of everything I wanted to say. I did read the peer review, and that's all I have to say. I'm glad she was online. I didn't realize she was. So this is great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so Aaron's going to check the public line. And we'll set up for the May 25th site visit and coordinate with everybody.
All right.
Through the chairman when appropriate. Thank you. I'll talk if you can.
You ready?
Yep.
Good evening. Is there anyone on the public line to speak to the 150 Charlton Road ANRAD? Is there anyone on the public line for the 150 Charlton Road ANRAD?
There's no one on the line.
Glenn, you have to hand up?
Yes, please. Thank you again. Just a couple of follow-ups. Thank you, Robin, very much for the review. We do work to be thorough, especially on an somewhat altered site because of the previous contamination and the work that had been done to remediate that problem from the gas station across the street. We will we use wet meadow seed mix with New England wetland plants. We're work with them. Actually, I'm working on their own trout brook in the back. And we would use conservation mix on the upland. Normally, that's what we do to stabilize those areas. As far as excluding the back area near the cell tower, I did flag across the brook in that northwest direction. And I do have a line extending, I believe, over 100 feet from the property line to cover that. I originally flagged that cell tower. So when we make the site inspection, we might be able to look at that line. It's pretty clear cut, if you might. Let's see, locate accurate, on branch, thorough. Thank you for the couple of flags down and that you could put them back where they were tied to after winter. Sometimes that Arctic ribbon does come down if it's really windy and shaking a lot. I don't think there's much more. We will add the different seed mixes in and then the erosion controls you brought up on the for the restoration. Of course, we'll be overseeing that work when it is approved. The one thing that we're not sure about the restoration, it could be handled under an enforcement order because this is work that should have taken place under the original order, or the commission can allow us to file a new notice of intent, or we could do it when we file the notice of intent for Mr. Procon and just add it into that project as well, we can add it into that because it's the same property. We could do restoration and again, the proposed project all in one NOI with a lengthy description on how we're going to handle the erosion. Whatever the client would like, I think for expediting the project, if we do get through this process, if we do, my preference would be to add it into the NOI, and Mr. Prouty and Mr. Chesler would handle the cost. That's not your issue of the restoration, and Mr. Procon, Mr. Procon would handle obviously his aspect of the project.
All right, I'm not going to address that directly. I'm just going to go for the continuation and site visit at this time.
So moved.
You'll bring us back whatever is most appropriate.
Thank you.
Eric, what do you say?
Motion to continue until the June 1st meeting.
Stephen?
Stephen Chittister, I second that.
Thank you.
Any discussion?
All right, in favor? Oh, yeah.
All in favor?
Eric Athmore in favor?
Stephen?
Stephen Chittister in favor.
And Ed in favor. Thanks, Glenn. Thanks.
Thank you. And I take
Yeah.
it, I will get the time for the 25th from Rebecca before, obviously, clearly before the 20th on the time. Thank you again for your time so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you, Robin.
Becky, I'm not ahead of myself.
Thank you.
Cedar Street, we've got,
Yep, you're on number 4.
yeah, we're on. Yeah. No, I was just checking to make sure I'm going from the detailed sheet to the agenda sheet. Number 4, Cedar Street, continued NOI, construction of a new single-family home and associated site work. DEP file number, do we have a file number, Beck?
Yes, we did get that since we did the detailed agenda. It's 300-1104.
1104. All right. What do you have to say on this, Becky?
All right, I'll give a quick summary, and then we do have the engineer on. I'll let him add in. I'm just going to pull up the plan here, the colored plan. Can everyone see that? Take that as a yes? Okay. All right, so this is a continuation. At the last meeting, that was our first hearing on this. We did not have a file number, and the commission did have some comments on the project as proposed in relation to resource area and some recommendations. So the engineer did go back and look at the plan, revised that, included the wetland flag change that we requested, and did look at modifications to reduce impact within buffer zone, pulling back that limit of work. So what we're looking at here is a second version of the revised plan that he sent in. I did have a few questions. I did go back out to the site because I did see some additional information with the Burgess School plan, which made me question the wetlands along the Burgess School access road line. So I did go back out and look at that and did provide the commission with my opinions on that. I think what we're looking at is an accurate line here. Based off of topography. I did some soil sampling and looking at the vegetation there. So I think that we're okay with what we're showing here for the wetland line. So with that, you can see that he really did reduce this project back. We have some BMPs on site here, picking up roof runoff that was originally shown on the plan. We've gone from a 4-bedroom single-family house down to a 3-bedroom, pulling back the need for grading off the flat portion of the site onto the slopes which direct to the resource area. I did ask about the kind of riprap inclusion there, BMP, for slowing down stormwater within the swale, and really wanted to see that that swale wasn't impacted on the school access road side. So he did put in an infiltration strip along the driveway and pull back that limit of work so we weren't disturbing that area. Which I think is important because those swales, as we know, take that road runoff off, and you know, keeping that vegetated allows, you know, infiltration, you know, nutrient absorption before directing it right to the wetland. So happy with the revised plan. The other additional information that we received, we had a question about was this lot subject to the zoning bylaw section 4.03, which had requirements for percentage of upland versus wetland on a property site to determine if it was buildable or not. So this lot was divided off in 2003, and that bylaw went into effect in 2005. So it's not subject to it. So that was clarification on that. I'm happy with the revisions on the site. We do have, a very clear limit of work line on here. We do have the inclusion of a split rail fence along 2 of the sides of the property here, which will, serve as a visual barrier for any future property owners. I would recommend at this point, I think that you can approve this project and issue an orders of conditions. I'd recommend our standard conditions, and then one of the things that was noted last time at the public hearing was not stockpiling on the site. I believe that was mentioned. So I think that if you're ready to move forward with it, you're comfortable that you could close the public hearing and vote to approve the project.
Okay. Eric?
No comments. I'm happy with the changes in the project.
Jeff, I forgot about you. Jeff?
That's okay. I mean, Rebecca did a great job covering all the changes. Obviously, the one big change that we did have is we went from a 4-bedroom colonial-style house with a garage down to a 3-bedroom ranch, which really reduced the size of the footprint of the house and allowed us to tighten up the grading on the side of the house, both sides of the house, and really pull in that grading. So with the grading you see out there now or the proposed grading you see on the plan is very minimal. It's really not going to have much of an impact on the site. So, by making that change, we were able to address all I believe all the concerns that the commission had at the last hearing. So.
All right, thank you. Stephen?
Thank you very much for the changes you made. I appreciate that. And I'm good with the plan. Thank you.
Eric, do you have anything?
Nope, nothing.
No, and neither do I. Becky, could we check with the audience to see if anybody has any comments?
Yep.
Is there anyone on the public line that would like to speak to the 34 Cedar Street notice of intent for construction of a new single-family home? Is there anyone on the public line? No.
Oh, there's no one on the public line.
Motion to close the public hearing. Eric Gaspar.
Stephen Chittister, I second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Eric Gaspar in favor.
Stephen Chittister in favor.
And Ed Goodwin in favor. Do we have a motion?
Yeah, motion to approve the project at 34 Cedar Street, DEP file 300-1104, with the agent's notes and proper erosion controls.
Do I have a second?
Stephen Chittister, I second.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Stephen?
Eric Gaspar in favor.
Eric? Yeah.
Stephen Chittister in favor.
And Ed Goodwin in favor. Thanks, Jeff.
Thank you very much. Have a good night.
Okay. Uh, 48, we're on. Good. We are now on 650 and 680 Route 15 continued NOI, proposed development of a nursery and tree farm to include a perennial stream crossing, DEP file number 300-192.
Isn't that 1092, or is it actually 192?
It says 192. Is it 1092? Or is it 1902 or whatever? It's a different number.
1092. That's what I have on mine. Oh, you're looking at the detailed agenda, maybe it wasn't. Oh, yeah, it's correct on the agenda, that's just missing a 0 on the detailed agenda. All right, so for this one, this is a continuation. We have peer reviews ongoing out here. As a quick update, I already did, we do have the engineer on here for the next hearing too. We did receive a request to continue this hearing to allow for the peer reviews, and just as an update, I did receive the engineer's peer review report today, which I will be providing to everybody. And I also spoke to Oxbow Associates, who's doing the review of the notice of intent for us. They've done their site visits, and we should be receiving a report shortly on that one. What I'd like to do is schedule a site visit for May 25th to go out here with the peer reviewers and view the site before the next hearing. And that's about it for that one.
All right. Any comments? Stephen?
I'm anxious to see the peer review report. So,
Yeah, Eric?
Yep, no additional comments.
Same here. Do we want to go to the audience, Becky, on this, or do we just want to take a continuation? I think we got to go to the audience. Aaron?
I'll go. Is there anyone on the public line that would like to speak about the 650 and 680 Route 15 notice of intent? Is there anyone on the public line that would like to speak to the 650, 680 Route 15 notice of intent?
Motion to continue the hearing to June 1st with a site visit on May 25th.
Stephen Chittister, I second that.
Any discussion? Seeing no, Stephen, how do you vote?
Stephen Chittister in favor.
Eric?
Eric Gaspar in favor.
Ned Goodwin in favor. All right, we're now to number 6. And that's going to be,
We've got a few minutes before 6 or...
got to go to 55, and we're at 51.
So I can just-
4-minute break.
Well, I can just go through, so for
Go ahead.
old business number 12, that was going to be continued to June 1st, as well as the other discussion about their project, which is number 13. So just so you're aware, we can cross those off.
So those would be
We
12
also
and
have,
13.
that's something that Eric wanted on, so we'll ask Eric if he wants to talk about that afterwards. Number 14 still?
Yeah, we can talk about that next week. I'd rather have everybody involved in that discussion.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
We're continuing.
go ahead, sorry.
So we are continuing these, Becky, is that what you're saying? Okay. We're continuing 14, 13, and 12 until the next meeting, which is
June 1st.
June 1st. Okay. All righty, we are now,
Doesn't do that with the report. Just got 2 more minutes.
what? 2 more minutes.
2 more minutes. Eric,
Yep.
vote reconsideration procedures, did you want to discuss that tonight, or, I'm not saying we have to do it right now, but,
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty straightforward. I just, when David brought up the reconsideration for the Fisk Hill right of first refusal, in thinking about how that all went, I kind of felt after the fact that we didn't have an appropriate amount of time to really gather our thoughts and also validate that the reconsideration was being done in the proper way. So I don't think it's going to, for that issue, it doesn't matter. I don't want to reconsider that, but I would like to put in place a procedure that if a member of the board would like to bring up a reconsideration vote, that we table it to at least the following meeting to allow the other commission members to have time to make sure that the procedural maneuver is appropriate, but also number two, to gather their thoughts and think about, you know, what is really being presented. Because I felt at the time, and shame on me for not raising my hand and saying I'd like some time to think about this. But the more I thought about it, the more I think that for future events like this, it would be in our best interest as a commission to make sure that we give ourselves the proper time to let situations like that marinate. So that's what I wanted to discuss.
David, any comments?
Yeah, I guess I understand where Eric's coming from.
Yeah, I agree with you completely, but I think we have a procedure for it. You just say, hey guys, you're blindsiding me here. I'd like to continue this until the next meeting. And I think there'd be a rare occasion that that we wouldn't do that. In my history.
All right. Well, I mean, I would think it'd be simple enough to give everybody the amount, you know, because it was the first time that I had interacted with it, and you can't plan for every variable. Right. And you know, the reality is that I should have been, you know, more stalwart in my feelings to express my concern at the time, but it was more something that kind of generated this thought after the fact, like, what the hell just, excuse my French, what the heck just happened there? Yeah. So I feel like if we put a procedure in place, especially since it doesn't happen all that often, to make sure that, you know, I'm not shy and I still didn't say something. So if we have other members of the commission that maybe are not willing to kind of put themselves out there, if we put that cooling off period of one meeting, just as our standard practice and procedure, it'll make sure that we all have an opportunity to kind of think that through and make sure that it's in line and appropriate. Especially considering if you think about how this one went, it was all kind of part of committee updates and not necessarily a public hearing, so there really wasn't, you know, a public record of the discussion anyway. So that was, you know, I think it would be okay to just table it a week so everybody has a chance and an opportunity to let it breathe and set that as a policy. But if I'm just one person, one vote, and if we look to do it a different way, I'll live with it. But
why don't we table it until we get the full committee?
Okay.
You can go with
I agree with, and actually, personally, I just want to say that I'm not really in favor of putting a policy in that we automatically table something. I think that we're all, you know, open to someone just saying that they want, hang on just a second. Pick up the handset here. I'm not in favor of instituting a policy that we do this. I think that we're all amenable to tabling something. So if someone has an objection to us reconsidering a vote, like Ed said, we just ask that it be tabled if we need to table it, and if we don't, then we have the option of voting on it. So that's my comment.
In case we needed something in a hurry, I mean, I could see that, but
exactly.
But again, I'm just going to repeat it because I really feel strongly about it. That if you'd said, "Hey, you know, this is, you know, BS. I want to take a look at this. We voted on it already, and now either we don't have the same people here, or we don't, you know, I don't have enough information." I would want to table that, but an automatic system might be, you know, the next thing you know, that we'll have something that we really should be doing, and everybody agrees on it, and we can't do it because we have to table it till the next meeting, and the next meeting isn't in a week.
Right.
Sometimes the next meeting is 3 weeks. Usually it's 2. So, but, so we'll continue it until the next meeting and have a discussion with the full board.
Sure.
See what they say. All right, Beck?
Sure.
We're back to, on 30 Main.
Yep.
30 Main Street / 20 Fisk Hill Road, continuation, notice of intent. Development of a residential and commercial cul-de-sac subdivision, DEP file number 300-1086. Becky, we're looking for a continuation here.
Yep, we do have the project engineer on. He wants to give a quick update for you. But right, they're still working on project revisions. So there's no new information to act upon. So we will be looking for a continuation, but he did ask, he wants to go over, they did send me some information after I provided your packets and the detailed agenda. So he just kind of wants to give you an update with where they're at with the project, especially with the revisions associated with Mass DOT in the front of the site. Go ahead, Pete.
Excellent. Peter? Peter, yeah?
Good evening. How you doing?
Good.
So yeah, like Becky said, we're currently working on revisions. I think we're at a point where we can full steam ahead on the plan revisions and addressing all the comments that the commission had, as well as pulling in any design changes that DOT wanted. I guess in respect to the commission, there's the culvert that is tied into the DOT drainage system, which we are going to propose to remove and replace with a intermittent stream channel for the intermittent stream going through that wetland. So, but I think we're at a point where hopefully in the next week or so we'll have new plans into Becky and the planning department, and they can move forward with the peer reviews, so we can hopefully move this forward after a slight hiatus over the past couple months.
Good. Any questions from the commission? Eric?
Just what is a reasonable date in everybody's mind for the continuation? Are we talking a month, 2 months?
Peter?
So if we get plans into Jean and Becky within the next 2 weeks, I believe Jean said she'll need at least 2 weeks for the peer review to review those. And I guess in the event that there was any further comments, we'd have to change those plans. I don't see anything additionally coming from stormwater, and I believe we'll address all of Ecotech's comments as well, but probably not June 1st, but the meeting after that.
What'd that be, Beck? What's the
June 15th?
second one in June?
Right, so that's if you guys, if they need 2 weeks themselves to look at the plans, and we can say we get them on June 1st, that means the peer reviewers have to do their work, and you would need materials to look at by the 8th for your meeting on the 15th. I don't know that the peer reviewers can turn that around in time. I mean, is that what you think, Pete? It's going to take your firm a couple weeks to get those accomplished?
Yeah, I mean, we can schedule for that, and if, for whatever reason it doesn't work, we can always continue if that's all right with the commission.
Right, because the next.
Becky, we have the peer review.
Say that again?
We have a copy of the peer review. Do we have a copy of the peer review?
The peer reviews were provided initially, but it's been a long time since those have come in. I don't remember when the first hearing on this project was. We have Art and the engineer.
You're talking about yeah. Okay, you're talking about the review of the next version.
Right, they'll need to re-review
Right,
everything.
okay.
Yep. So we only have one meeting in July, so we have June 15th as a meeting, and then our next meeting is July 20th, so you're aware.
How is June 15th shaping up?
For us?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, we're gonna have quite a few public hearings, probably, as usual. I mean, I think, right, you can give them the opportunity because we don't have another meeting for a month, and if it's not ready at that time, then it just has to be continued to July.
All right. You want to see if there's anybody in the audience who would like to speak to this, Aaron?
Sure thing. Good evening. Is there anyone on the public line that would like to speak to the 30 Main Street, 20 Fisk Hill Road notice of intent? Is there anyone on the public line that would like to speak to the 30 Main Street, 20 Fisk Hill Road notice of intent?
There's no one on the line.
Nathan. Continuation? Correct? Motion to continue the public hearing?
Yeah, motion to continue until the 15th of June.
Do I have a second?
Stephen Chittister, a second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Eric?
Eric Gaspar in favor.
Stephen Chittister in favor.
And Ed Goodwin in favor. Peter, you're in favor, right?
I am.
Okay, I just wanted to check. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep. Take care.
Have a good one.
Yeah. We are now crossroads number 705. We're at 706. Oh man, I'm messing up. 30 River Road, continued amendment request for OOC, DP file number 300-1021, RV management. Becky?
Yep. So for this public hearing, this was a continuation. This one and the next one from the last meeting. After the last meeting we had, the Thursday after that, we did get a call from a butter asking what time the meeting was that night. So the notifications that went out for the previous hearings listed May 6th as the meeting date. So we did ask, and we didn't catch that when we looked at those. We did ask that they re-notify abutters for this and the next public hearing with this continuation date of the 18th and the public hearing time of 7:05 and 7:15. We did ask for those receipts today. We were provided receipts of the notification. The only thing that I did notice is that on the abutter notification form, it only listed the 7:15 public hearing. So it doesn't appear that, I mean, it was an error that they didn't include this hearing. So, I mean, it wasn't properly done. I wouldn't recommend that the hearing is open since it wasn't properly notified per the Wetland Protection Act.
If I may, Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead.
The notification specified both the notice of intent and the request to amend the existing order or conditions. So it provided the information for both. However, it just listed a 7:15 p.m. Start time. So I think it was properly notified as long as the commission waits until 7:15 p.m. to open these public hearings.
If I could, Mr. Chair, I'd be okay with that if the rest of the commission is. I don't see any harm. Becky, is that accurate? Was all the information supplied in the abutter notification? It was just a difference of 10 minutes.
So right, it listed the one hearing time. I mean, it's required to list the date and time for a public hearing. So it listed the date and time for one of the public hearings and just the date for the other one. So reading that, you know, maybe you can use your discretion on that. I just you know, with the issue we already had with people not being notified, I mean, it's just concerning. It does have the 7:15 time, so if, you know, the board sees it fit, I think you can make your decision if you want to just wait and open the first one at that time.
Steven?
An unusual situation, usually it's, you know, if we don't receive confirmation, or if they didn't do it appropriately, we just wouldn't open it. But we have 2 here, and 2 listed on 1 form. So a unique situation that doesn't typically happen, I guess.
And the reason for doing this is to try and prevent confusion. So I provided one notification listing both with one time. You know, in hindsight, I should have put the 7:05 p.m., but rather than confuse people that are opening the mail, they get 2 notifications in the same envelope. I combined them into one. So in an effort to make things easier for everybody, and ultimately I think I confused the situation. But I think, like I said, I think it's completely legal as long as the commission waits till 7:15 to open the public hearings.
Stephen Tedesca?
Yeah, I'm not sure procedurally. I just want to make sure that we're doing things legally. So it seems to me what Scott just said about waiting until 7:15, since both were listed at the 7:15 time frame on the public notice, that seems to me that would be acceptable. But I don't know legally if that's what we have to do.
Yeah, well, yeah, I don't either. I don't know the answer. I know that many times we've had something listed for 7:05 and it hasn't gone on until 7:15. I mean but, so I, you know, from that point of view, I have no problem with it. But, as far as it being listed at the wrong time to the public, how do you vote on it, Eric? You said you're for going ahead and waiting to 15.
Yeah, I mean, we can discuss the Farquhar road easement in the next 3.5 minutes and get us to 7:15. So I think you know, we're being completely reasonable. I can't imagine somebody being able to make an actual case of us waiting the 10 minutes to do this. So I've been wrong before, but it seems like we're taking a reasonable action given the circumstances.
Stephen?
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
Okay. Becky, we're going to go with the bringing them all, both on at 7:15. In the meantime, could we go to the Farquhar Road?
Yep, we do
And do
have
that?
Tom Chamberlain on. Let me just, yep, he is on, just wanted to make sure. So, all right, I'll just start out, Tom, and then I'll pass it over to you. I did provide the commission with
Hi, Tommy.
on this. This is something that Tom and I have been working on. This is associated with the Grand Trunk Trail. So, town owns 75 Farquhar Road, and we've talked previously about the Grand Trunk Trail. Tom's been working on the Grand Trunk Trail for quite a while now, and we're looking to move forward on this, working with the engineers on the plans. And we had found out that, you know, the property lines were a question with 75 and 75 Farquhar Road. We had to hire a surveyor to figure that out, and when he was doing that, discovered that there was an easement on the property, a historic easement from when the property was broken. It was one property, it was broken off, and that was when the Army Corps of Engineers came in and took land in that area, and then also added easements on for flood control related to Westville Dam. So there was an easement for the property owner of 77 Farquhar Road to have certain access. There was a chicken shed and another structure that he could have access to. Now, when we were doing this project, one of the areas he has access to that he doesn't use is where our trail is proposed to go through. So we've met with him and we've worked out a revision to this easement to give him access to an area that he still uses, and would like to use, and he would relinquish his access easement to this other area that we need to use for the Grand Trunk Trail. So we've worked with the town administrator, town council has reviewed the documents, we've had the surveyor draft the plan, and we have the revised language that's been presented. This is going to be moving forward at annual town meeting on June 7th. And as the commission has care and custody of the property, we're looking for the commission's approval to revise this easement on the property so we can facilitate the Grand Trunk Trail project there. Tom, is there anything you want to add?
That summed it up very nicely, Becky.
Thank you.
I would have taken half an hour to explain all of that.
That's why I went first.
It was 29 minutes, Tommy, so any discussion? Eric?
None. Yeah, I'm good.
Stephen?
Yeah, I'm fine with this.
And I am also fine with it.
Motion to approve the easement.
I have a second.
Stephen Chittister, a second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Eric?
Eric Aspar in favor?
Stephen Chittister?
Stephen Chittister in favor.
And Ned Goodwin in favor. Thanks, Tommy. Thanks for all the work you did.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thanks, Tom.
Good night.
Look at that, Tom. You just benefited from that 10-minute delay, because otherwise you wouldn't be on for another hour. So.
Well, I'm hoping, Eric, that we benefit from it.
Yeah, right, exactly.
As they say, I love it when a plan comes together.
there
Thank
you
you
go.
all.
All right, we're now back to number 7, 30 River Road, and we are within the legal time frame of 7. We're starting them both at 7:16. 30 River Road, continued amendment, request for Rest 2 OOC, DEP, file number 300-1021. All right, Becky?
Yep, so this was a continuation from the last public hearing. The commission reviewed the plans that were submitted, had some comments, as well as myself had some comments. They added the new bridge to the plan. That was one of the things. One of the things that I had noted was the original permit had the restoration plantings on the plans, and it was part of that permit. I know they've discussed in the other public hearing, including the final planting as part of that project. I think that it makes more sense to keep it with this file number. This was the file number that had the violation that resulted in the restoration areas in the beginning. So I think it's necessary to keep it with this permit. Those were pretty much the only comments related to the amendment request for the work that was already completed on the site. The only thing I think it's important to note too, and we do have it on the agenda to discuss under old business, is the enforcement order and where that stands in compliance with that enforcement order. Moving forward, as the commission is issuing any new permits on the site. One thing that was commented on at the last meeting in the other public hearing was the question about off-site resource area impacts that were documented on the site. So the enforcement order, at the last meetings that we've had, the March 2nd, and then in December, the meeting we had, the commission did ask for information about how the off-site resource area impacts are going to be handled. In the enforcement order, the commission did request that they all resource area impacts, on-site and off-site, are assessed by an independent wetland scientist, and recommendations are given on how to address those, and the areas be restored should they need to be restored. with these two applications, they've worked to address many of the things in the enforcement order. However, that's still an outstanding item that I think is important that the commission discusses. It was said at the last public hearing that they thought that that was not, necessary. The commission took that off the table in a sense. I went back and reread the minutes, watched the meeting, went back to some of the other meetings, and that comment was never given. So I think it's important that the commission, because we still have, it's a violation, failure to comply with the local enforcement order is a violation in itself. And I think that prior to issuing any permits, I think that needs to be resolved and how that's going to be addressed in moving forward. We know, and we've had it documented, that there was impacts on those properties in resource areas, and you did ask for the assessment and restoration of that. So those are the only things that aren't being complied with. I think it's important to note that they are addressing the other things, and it would be nice to wrap those up, but they do have a violation still, and I think that it's necessary to make sure that they're complying with everything that's being asked for prior to, issuing new permits too. So.
All right. Scott?
So if you recall, I guess we're just, there's three pieces to this. There's the amendment request, there's the notice of intent and enforcement order. What this meeting is for this current one is for the amendment request. So as the commission requested, they wanted a plan to update, provide details with all the stormwater management improvements that were conducted on site. A detailed plan has been provided to address that, so we're seeking the commission to simply approve the amendment to accept the as-built plans that show all those additional stormwater features. The new notice of intent kind of addresses, works towards, discussions and agreement, regarding the enforcement order and items required to complete the site. So at this point, specifically for this, this amendment request, we're seeking the commission to essentially approve the as-built, because we've been kind of piecemealing it, providing sketches and things have been approved that way. So this is a formal procedure so that the commission can approve the existing stormwater management features. So that's what we're seeking approval of tonight for this amendment request. I'd be happy to go through, if you want me to go through kind of the details of how we've addressed each one of these items, I can certainly do that. So, going back to Becky's comments prior to the last meeting, she asked for the bridge to be shown on the plan. We've shown, it's actually a culvert, but we've provided some details on the existing conditions plan that reflect and address that. Restoration areas being completed, as Becky indicated. He's required to comply with the mitigation plan. He's done a lot of plantings. There's still quite a few plantings to be done, but obviously the commission's not going to issue a certificate of compliance until that's done. That's a requirement under this order of conditions, and I spoke to Philip directly. He was planning on ordering additional plantings when I spoke with him earlier this week, and the intent is to get those planted some this spring. I think he may actually plant all of them this spring, get it done, because I know the commission is looking to get that done by next September. So he's proceeding with that. Like I said, he's planning on ordering. I think he had already ordered some, and then get those installed. The other item is the delineation regarding the duck pond. If you recall, there was an order of conditions that defines the wetlands boundaries and approved the lake management plan. So it's established the jurisdiction for a period of 3 years. The restoration is part of the notice of intent application, but there's really no way to change the approved wetland boundary. The other thing is, at the end of the day, when the commission issues a certificate of compliance, all that goes away. So any future plans future work would have to come back with a new notice of intent, new wetland delineation, and the commission would obviously review that. So there's really no need to provide that additional delineation. Looking for additional stormwater BMP to be shown in the final as-built plan. That's part of the certificate of compliance process, and they will, certainly provide that as-built plan. She asked for the as-built plan shown to be included in the O&M plan, so it shows all the details of stormwater basins. So that's something that can simply just be inserted in the operations and maintenance plan. Let's see. Next item, discuss plans for plantings. I already discussed that the notice of intent requires the additional plantings, and he acknowledges that. He plans to plant all those plants. The only caveat to that, he's already planted a few trees down in the vicinity of Duck Pond that the beavers have already chewed down and taken away. So he may need to ring those with some hardware cloth or something to make sure that those survive, which I've recommended to him. And then we've got comments from Natural Heritage Endangered Species Program. Those will presumably be inserted as special conditions. I think that was the final item. We've subsequently, since the last meeting, received the Mass DEP file number with no comment. So we're hopefully we can get this amendment request wrapped up tonight. Since we've addressed comments, we've provided revised plans, and we're at a point, I think, that the commission can approve that.
All right.
Can I just?
Stephen?
Sorry.
Go ahead.
I just forgot to mention,
Becky.
I did reach out to Natural Heritage, and I did get a reply late this afternoon from them that she did clarify for the conditions. She said she was just a little confused with the two applications. So she said if the work was completed and there was no additional work, the conditions wouldn't need to be included in this permit. So for 1021, it would just be for the new notice of intent. And then just one thing, I mean, my comment about the change with the resource area, that was per DEP. That was a few years ago when we were talking about the dam removal. I did speak to Judy Schmitz about that, and she said with that change, it would need to be picked up and reflected on an as-built plan. So that's why I included that comment. So once that dam came out, she said that we would need to change, that resource area on the final as-built plan. So that's why I've included that as a comment. That's all.
Was she aware that there was an existing ORAD or order in place defining the wetland boundaries? I suspect she wasn't, because it's similar to an ANRAD that you can't, once the wetland boundary has been reviewed, you really can't revisit it. And like I said, at the end of the day, it's completely meaningless, because once a certificate of compliance is issued, all that's out the door, and you'd have to refile the new delineation. So
yeah, I don't know if she was aware. I mean, I would think she was aware that we approved the resource area delineation when we approved the NOI. I mean, I can seek clarification on it, but that was just the guidance I was given.
Stephen?
Yeah, so going back to the agent's comment about the enforcement order, I appreciate, that they've addressed the other items, and I'm satisfied with that, but I am concerned about the fact that the enforcement order hasn't been addressed.
Eric?
I'd agree. I guess I'm trying to wrap my head around the peril of approving this amended order of conditions with that still out there. Could somebody give me an idea of, if we approve this without the enforcement order being addressed, what our leverage is and what our position is versus if we continue this until that's addressed. I just need to have that clarified in my head. Is there no difference? Is there a substantial difference? Is there a small difference?
Well, I would tell you that I can't answer your question, but I know there's a difference. And I also know that in speaking with DEP that we are under no obligation to move forward on anything with an enforcement order in place that's not being acted on.
Okay, thank you.
And if I may, I think the intent of the notice of intent application was we had numerous discussions with the commission, and it was decided.
What you went through, I thought was excellent. I agreed with everything. Don't repeat it. I thought what you said was exactly correct.
Yeah, so like I said, we're working, the commission asked for the amendment request and the new notice of intent, so, he's acting in good faith to work towards resolving these issues.
Scott, I'll repeat it. I think that what you went through was what we were looking for, but you can't pick what you're going to do for us from a caveat of things and say that that's what you're going to do. We have an enforcement order in place, and you basically at the last meetings, gave the indication that you were not going to honor that enforcement order. Maybe I misread you, but maybe you could explain that to me.
I think what I said was misconstrued. We file a notice of intent. We're only able to file a notice of intent on property that's owned and controlled by the applicant. So we provided a notice of intent based upon conversations with the commission to include stormwater swale at discharge number 6, pond restoration, stream restoration, and then removal of the asphalt tailings and the mitigation plantings. So that's what's filed, that's what's before the commission, and it's my understanding that was everything that was filed was in good faith to address the enforcement order. And the site's wrapped up. The site's in really good shape. I've on occasion done sampling, stormwater sampling. Just to give you an example, last time I sampled, I think it was the fall, looked at turbidity. So we ran it through a turbidity meter, came back at 1.8. To give you some context, drinking water standards is anything below 5. Keep in mind that the drinking water standards is only for aesthetics. It's not because there's a contamination or anything. It's simply aesthetics, but it gives you a sense of what the site discharge was from the site, and the stream's flowing clean. He's done a ton of additional stormwater improvements on the site. A lot of that was retrofitting what was previously approved, but the applicant never balked it when additional stormwater management structures were suggested, so that not only is the stormwater better today than it's been in the however many years that the campgrounds existed, but it's he's got an operations and maintenance plan. He's got some significant additional stormwater management controls, so that the water quality leaving that site, not to mention all the other things that he's done, but the water quality leaving that site far exceeds anything that existed prior to his ownership of the property. So he's taken great strides. It's cost a ton of money for him to do these improvements, and he's lost sites as a result of it. But I think he certainly made a good faith effort to do these improvements, knowing that it's gonna improve the water quality, not only in Pine Lake, which is kind of the focus of the campground, but to down gradient properties and down gradient wildlife and streams and all that. So I think I would hope that the commission kind of weighs that in the consider, at least consider it, I guess, with the enforcement order. And again, the site's fully stable. Jimmy Piappi's been up there during heavy rain events to check and make sure that his works worked well. The only remaining discharge point that doesn't have additional stormwater controls, we've got a notice of intent before the commission to make some retrofit that. So we've got a riprap swale to provide additional stormwater treatment. So
I think
it's in good shape, and I think it's...
Hold up, Scott.
Yep.
Stephen? Anything further?
Yeah, I guess I wouldn't disagree with anything that Scott just said. The problem is that it's what damage has been done. So it's not, we're not talking about future damage. We're talking about what was done when the dam failed and there was that big release of sediment. So right now, what's coming off the site may be perfect, but we're talking about, something that prompted an enforcement order and has not been addressed. That's where I'm coming from.
Eric?
Yeah, I guess I have to agree. It seems that this has been at issue for months now, and there's been an abject, neglect on the part of the applicant and Scott to even address that it's there. There's a foot of sand just sitting there on the stream bank that came from someplace, and has not been addressed in any way, shape, or form to restore the natural operation of that stream. Forget the fact for a moment of the additional impacts that are on somebody else's property. To your point, Scott, if you don't have access, you don't have access. But this is something that we can view standing right from the road. So this is a public way, a public access. So to not address it or claim it or figure out a way to restore it seems like it's not addressing anywhere near the spirit or the desire of the enforcement order. So that's kind of what I keep going back to in my head. It's almost like if I don't address it, it doesn't really exist. But we've seen with our own two eyes that it exists, and it exists not on an abutter's property. It exists on public access ways. So it's not something that we're imagining.
With that, how do we want to move forward? You want a continuation? Come back with us with a plan to mitigate the enforcement order, or how would you like to, you want us to vote on this? Because it's not going to be you're hearing what they're saying.
Like I said, I think the enforcement order is a separate matter that's still, regardless of what the commission decides on regarding this application.
Okay, Scott, you can put them in three baskets if you want. I don't have a problem with that. We're telling you that basket has to come first. It has to come now because you've been ignoring it.
And I don't think necessarily it's been ignored. We've been working to this point. I hope that the commission wouldn't consider, all these lengthy meetings to just be.
All right, we'll just.
ignored.
What do you want to do?
I don't think that, like I say, there's three applications before you: the amendment request, notice of intent application, and the enforcement order. I see no reason why the commission couldn't vote upon the amendment request at this point. It's essentially everything the commission's been asking for, to provide a detailed plan for the work.
Could I address the commission for a moment?
Sure.
It's typical, even in enforcement matters, that any work that's done on the site following the enforcement is done under an order of conditions, under a notice of intent. so that what work we are proposing to do, what we've done, and then what work we're proposing to do, we'd like to do that work with the commission's blessing. That's what we're asking for. Now, I know that there's other issues out there, and the commission can deal with that.
And the way that George, the way we're going to deal with it is to require it to come first.
Well, we're losing the,
George, we're losing our leverage. We're being ignored. I ask any one of the commissions, Eric, how long have we been ignored?
Well, it's been nearly 2 years now, right? I mean, if we really look at it from the beginning, but my concern here is, you're exactly correct, Scott. I don't argue with you, as Ed just said, if they put them in 3 buckets, but I am really concerned at the neglect to even address that there's an issue at hand with the sand that is sitting there at the exit of Pine Lake, or the campground. So, can we at least get an agreement that it's there and that it needs to be restored?
I think, well, can we limit it to the area of the right-of-way, so it'll be on-site in the public right-of-way?
No.
See, this is where we're running into the problem on that. So, we'd like the blessings of the board to do the plantings, like the blessings of the board to do, discharge number 6, and to clean the stream bed on our property, so it doesn't have problems going down the road. And then I guess
problems down the road that if they do happen, you don't even want to fix. So I don't understand. I think we need continuation, and you guys have to come back with us. How are you going to handle the enforcement order?
What about the neighboring property? I mean, we don't have access. We can't even file a notice of intent on the neighboring property. So I can do it on the street. If I can do it in the public right of way, under that, I got no problem with that.
Becky, go ahead.
Well, the enforcement order asks for the assessment from that independent party. I think that would be the first step, is to have that assessment done, come back with the recommendations, and then develop a plan to restore. And that's what the commission initially asked for.
I don't know how we got so far apart, because Scott and I, we had discussed this, and we thought we were moving very well. We were very clear early on that it was going to be on site, and I didn't think there was objection, or we didn't have this conversation back in February. We didn't have this conversation in March.
George, we did, because there was a argument about the price of the and the cost of the third-party review or the assessment. That's where it came from. So to try to gaslight us and say that this hasn't been an issue. This has been an issue at virtually every one of these conversations that we've had since day one. I don't think that that's going to help us get past this conversation. We are very pleased with the motions forward that you've made in every other measurable area, but this one has been a consistent issue that has never been addressed, and in fact, this could have been dealt with months ago, but Mr. Moreau objected to the cost and then kept dragging out this conversation. We thought we had an agreement from Mr. Moreau that he was going to do it, and then the check never came, and then we had to bring it up at a following meeting. And then that's when all of this discussion about it was pulled off the table in a previous meeting, at which Becky, I'm sure in hours of viewing of public hearings and records, verified that it was never pulled off the table. So, to say that this item is everything that you've done is creating this cavern between us. That's not true. All those things need to be done, and we very much appreciate it. But ignoring this one issue has created this kind of flashpoint that we're dealing with right now. This issue has to be dealt with, and yes, I agree with you that you can't put an NOI on somebody else's property. However, if we have this independent assessment, the independent assessment says there's not likely to be downstream damage, and we can just address the sediment bank as evaluated by the independent assessment, then I think this all goes away. I just wanted this to come to a head with this independent assessment months ago, but Mr. Moreau, over an amount that seems really, really insignificant to the overall scope of this project of $11,000, if I remember correctly, it seems to be nothing more than a delay tactic to not have to deal with this issue at all. And that's what bothers me, because I just want this issue to be dealt with. Let's figure it out and let's move on. I think we all want that. So I'll yield. I know I'm not yielding time, but I'm not going to beleaguer the point any further.
All right, we're at a standstill here. You want a continuation, Scott, to come back with an answer as to what you're going to do on the enforcement order?
I think we have to talk to my clients about that. We can go on the next agenda. Is that it? When's the commission next meeting?
Yeah, we can put you on, June 15th?
June 1st or the 15th?
Right, the 1st or the 15th.
June 1st is great. And I mean, we may be back to saying, you have our notice. This is what we intend to do. You can vote it down. I mean, I'm not telling you that now because I do want to talk to my client. But I may be saying, you have our notice. That's what we intend to do. If you don't like that, vote it down. And
okay.
We'll just...
Yeah, no, we understand that.
Before we move to because we're going to have to go to the public because we want to make sure we catch that comment if the person showed up. But before we do that, is there a procedural way that we can deal with the enforcement order at the top of the meeting ahead of this, so this doesn't become an order of conversations issue? I get your frustration, Scott. We're here to deal with one other item, and then there's something further down our agenda that is holding this up. So can we put the enforcement order ahead of these public hearings so we can deal with that first? Is that procedurally okay?
Sure.
And Mr. Carazzi, if Mr. Moreau like to join us at the next meeting, I will make a public request that he joins us through this forum, through this format, on GoToMeeting and not through the public line, because he has joined us in numerous occasions through the public line, and it's been a very frustrating process. So if you
have to get to the public line, is what you're saying.
You're right.
Yeah.
I want it to be through the GoToMeeting socket.
Yeah.
One last question, if I could. So just to make sure that there's no outstanding issues relating this filing that we need to provide to the commission. I think everybody's happy with the filing. It's just the process is the hang-up, correct?
Yeah, I can't go to the level of no outstanding. Once we go through it, there might be something that somebody has. So, but Becky, go ahead.
I mean, I would just add, I added it in as a comment that it could be included to the as-built, but the restoration areas were called out on the last plan set, and they're not shown on this plan set. I think that they should be included on there. That would be my recommendation, because as we move forward and we approve a new plan set, it's going to supersede the last one, and the restoration areas fell off of it. That way it's there, included with the site moving forward.
We don't dispute that, so that's...
Okay. Well, I'm going to ask Jordan to go to the public. Aaron?
Good evening. Is there anyone on the public line that would like to speak to the 30 River Road amendment request?
Sure.
Could you state your name and address for the record?
My name's Dorothy Morris. I live at 28 River Road.
Can everyone hear Charlie?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Okay. Go ahead, Charlie.
Yeah, I was just wondering how long this stuff's going to take. Another person?
Yeah.
It's hard to hear you. Can you hear him, Becky?
No.
No, we lost him.
Charlie, are you still there?
Yeah, I'm still here.
It broke up. Can you repeat that for me?
Yeah, I was just wondering how long this is going to take. Is it going to take 2 years to do it? Or?
He asked if it was going to take 2 years to complete.
God help us.
To answer that question, I think I guess the amendment request is already, it includes everything that was already completed to date. The new notice of intent application has some additional work to be done, but we anticipate having that work done by this coming fall. So it's not a 2-year process. It's just a matter of 6 months or so to get that work completed.
We recognize that the board will retain jurisdiction for the order for the certificate of compliance under your bylaws. So it may take 2 years to get the certificate of compliance, but we anticipate requesting that in the fall.
Did you get the answer, Charlie?
Charlie, are you still with us?
Yes, I am.
Did you hear the answer
Yeah.
they gave?
Yeah, I heard it. I don't know about
Do you have anything else?
Is that a no?
I can't
No, I guess so, no, yeah.
Okay.
But, George and Scott, that is a good example of Eric's request for online. It's very hard. Hopefully we'll be back live, and it'll be easier going forward. All right,
Is there anyone
with that, a motion.
Well, do you want me
Yeah.
to see if anyone else is here?
Go ahead.
Is there anyone else on the public line that would like to speak to the 30 River Road? No.
Thanks, Aaron.
Wait a minute.
Motion to continue
Is
to
someone there?
Oh,
I guess not.
Go ahead, Eric.
motion to continue this hearing until June 1st.
Actually, it's both of them.
Both now, these two public hearings and also the discussion on the enforcement order until June 1st, with the enforcement order discussion coming first.
Now, we didn't talk about the notice of intent application. I understand we're going to continue that, but I just want to flush that out, see if there's any outstanding issues that need to be resolved there.
I think we should
Becky?
close this hearing, open that one, go through the process, ask for the separate continuation.
All right.
To,
Okay.
All right, good.
All right, I'll amend my motion to continue this public hearing only and open the next one.
And also the enforcement.
And the enforcement discussion, yes.
Discussion.
With the enforcement discussion coming first.
to June
Even
1st?
Chittister, I second that.
Yeah. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Eric
Even
Gaspar in
Chittister
favor?
Yeah, Ed Goodwin in favor. Okay, thanks. All right, now we are to River Road, continued, notice of intent, complete all work to complete the site DEP file number 300-1102. Okay, Scott, you're on.
So I'll go through, we've got the DEP file number with no comments. Go through kind of the questions that Becky had. We had talked about the water quality swale. We've got that shown on the plan. There was some discussion about shifting it and moving it out in the field. It's proposed, it's going to be constructed as proposed on the plan, which will depict it closer to that site, so and further away from the well. So as depicted on the plan is what's proposed to be constructed. We provided details, sequencing plan to remove the temporary dam and to provide mitigation restoration of the stream channel on site. So go in with hand tools to remove sediments from the stream, remove the sandbags and the silt curtain that's within duck pond and do that restoration work. So there's details of that. Details also regarding, handling the flashboards of the pond to allow that work to be completed in the dry. There are some details, particularly with that Natural Heritage requires us. We've got to put together a turtle protection plan for submission and approval by Natural Heritage before completing that work. I believe there was 4 conditions, I think, that we just assume that will be conditioned, added to the orders of conditions to address that through Natural Heritage. Mitigation plantings, again, they're proposed in this application and that old application, the older order of conditions and the amendment. He's committed to installing those saplings and shrubs in accordance with that plan. Again, we got the DEP file number and Natural Heritage comments. The operations and maintenance plan, the final as-built plan will be inserted in the operations and maintenance plan, so it shows all the stormwater management features and structures, so that the O&M, it's all compiled into one document. And then the pool parking area. That parking area, they stripped the asphalt tailings, installed compact gravel through there. The plans were revised to reflect that. So that's been addressed. Tailings have been removed, and the area fully stabilized with gravel. We believe we've addressed all of the Commission's comments through this application. I'd be happy to answer questions regarding any of the details of that application.
Any questions or comments from Stephen? Anything at this time?
No, I think we just need to get everything wrapped up into this NOI, whatever comes out of the enforcement order.
Eric?
Just to confirm, that gravel parking area up next to the pool is going to be a gravel parking area up next to the pool. That is no intention to grass that in this plan, right?
No, it'll be proposed as it currently exists, so it'll be gravel. It's stabilized gravel now. There's no plans to grass it or do anything different. It's the current condition is what's proposed.
Okay, thank you.
Right.
And one more thing. The plantings, the restoration plantings are going to be in the appropriate zones on the plan, so we can see that. Is that correct as well? Because we have a number of them, but not necessarily a number of them in the appropriate areas as sketched out. So, are we going to be able to see that as well?
I don't see any reason why we can't just add that to this plan. So we'll show those areas on this plan, so that when you go out in the field, there's a list of numbers, and you can attach the numbers that are proposed in those areas. So if you or I or anybody else walks out there, we can go and count the saplings and shrubs and make sure that they match. So I don't see an issue.
That would be helpful.
So that's a yes, right, Eric?
Huh?
That's a yes, right?
It sounds like a yes to me.
Yeah, okay. With that, we'll continue this also. Thanks, Scott.
Should we just, in the interest of completion, go to the public just to make sure that nobody wants to talk about this?
Becky?
Yep.
Aaron?
Good evening. Is there anyone on the public line that would like to speak to the 30 River Road notice of intent? Is there anyone on the line that would like to speak to the 30 River Road notice of intent?
Nobody. There's nobody on the line that we are aware of.
Thank you, Aaron. With that, I'd like a continuation. Stephen?
Yeah, need to make a motion to continue.
Yeah, motion to continue to June 1st.
Yep.
Stephen Chittister, I second that.
No, seeing there's any discussion at all? Seeing none, all in favor?
Eric Gaspar in favor.
Stephen
Stephen
Chittister
Chittister
and Ed Goodwin in favor. Thanks, gentlemen.
Thank you very much.
Yep.
Have a good evening.
Yep.
Thanks, Scott.
Yeah. All right, we're now at number 9, emergency authorization. We did that already.
Yep.
Yep.
We have done everything except agent report, next meeting, and committee updates. I don't know if you want to. I think committee updates will be quick because it's only
Okay.
Ed and Eric. We know that Slack hasn't met still. I know.
You know, you just get me on one committee and these meetings go forever, and get me on another committee and we don't even meet. So if you average those two out, it's 2 average committees.
We had a meeting, and at that meeting we approved an additional $5,000 to be voted on by the town that was needed for a survey, historic survey that they had put together, and it turned out to be $20,000 instead of $15,000. They got some money toward it, and want to go forward, and they need the $5,000. So that's the only thing we had on our agenda. That's all we went through. All right, what was the other? Beck, what was the other? We're not going to get a trails update.
No. So just agent report, just a few quick things. One, I mean, as you know, the governor's lifting restrictions. State of emergency is going to end in June, so we're going to have to, you know, relook at going back and how we redo all of our abutter notifications, our agenda, our meetings. Once we have a little more information moving forward for the next meeting, we'll let you know how that's planned to be scheduled. But it sounds like we probably do need to have a quorum of the committee present. But we're waiting for additional details from town council on that, so we'll provide that to you as soon as we know, but the next meeting is June 1st. So if everyone's ready, we can have, you know, a meeting back here. Maybe it's gonna be a hybrid, I don't know. We'll update you as we find out more information. But once the emergency order's lifted, I think that it's gonna be required that we come back to a meeting, maybe with the option of still allowing consultants or other people to come in through the virtual process. So we'll let you know when we find out more information. June 25th, we've got a couple big site visits, at least the 650, 680 Route 15. That one's gonna take a little bit of time. We'll go to the 150 Charlton Road. We'll start at 9. Please let me know if you're not available. I'll send out the agenda for that on Friday. Just to let you know, we did the Long Pond boundary delineation. We got money from CPC to do that this year. We had that done. We did have an abutter contact us. They had some question and concern with one of the lines, which is what we have on record. And so we're working through that to figure out, kind of pulled in OPACUM and the assessor, trying to figure out if we can work that through. I'll keep you posted. It might require, you know, additional looking into, but it's just with what we had on record for the property line there. So we're getting close to the end of the fiscal year, so just to let you know, we will need to do the Wetland Protection Fund vote coming up, and then also we've been talking internally about fee changes for our local fees that we ask for. Something that I thought I would have had done by now, but I just haven't really had the opportunity to devote a lot of time to that. I was hoping to have something to present to you before the fiscal year change. The way the process is, you look at those changes, it goes to the Board of Selectmen and gets approved. If we just don't have time to do that in the office, it's not required, it's just something we want to look at with some changes. We might have to push that out a little bit. The intent was to
Becky?
Yep.
Just out of curiosity, it would be helpful for me as we look at the fee changes if you could give not only what the whole dollar amount is going to be for fees, but also the aggregate anticipated additional revenue that's going to be generated from those fees, so we can look at it both in the individual number but also the big number.
Okay. Do you want to see it as in, based off of maybe like what we had for filings this year?
That would be fine. I would just be curious. Okay. That would be fine. Yeah.
Okay. We're also planning on,
Thank you.
having some comparisons to some other towns and how they handle fees.
Most of our fees don't cover the cost of doing business.
Right. I don't know if you heard Aaron, but right, thinking about the cost of doing business, $25 for an RDA, $50 for an NOI, the office work associated, my site visit, if, with or without you, working through them with the construction process and all of those things too. So, just looking at finding, so that way we can help support staff hours, and especially maybe trying to get the admin position full-time and or, some other assistance, for what we need to do. So, like I said, hoping to have that before the change of the fiscal year, but with the way, these agendas, the amount of things coming in have been going, we just really haven't had the time to devote to that. It doesn't have to be done for fiscal year change, is my understanding. So, okay.
All right, I got one point on the old business, new business. I really hate the online meetings, but we have to keep a composite facet to them so that members can be more flexible where they are and still participate, and also applicants, if they can be more flexible and be where they are. Now, we know all of the flaws around it, and we can work with them as time goes on. I'm sure there's a better system out there. But I really don't think we should go back to having to be in the building in order to have a meeting, in order to, go for it. So that's just my personal opinion.
I agree wholeheartedly. I wouldn't have been able to participate in the last meeting had I not been through this forum. So I think this is helpful. And, in absence of that, I would have had to go and review the tape of the meeting, sign an affidavit. It's just, this is a much better flexible forum for those one-offs. And I think we'll get, going forward, much more overall participation from applicants and members of the commission.
Yeah.
I think it's helpful for.
Yeah, I guess my comment.
Go ahead, Steve. Sorry.
Go ahead, Steve.
Just going to say, my comment is that I would like to see any participation be through this format and not over a telephone line. So
that's another point. Yeah,
that's important facet of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think as we start
Maggie?
being in person, the public, it's really just the public that's required to use the phone line. We won't need that anymore, and they can come in and voice their comments versus having to use that line, because, right, it is difficult. But I think, too, using this and maybe a hybrid thing moving forward, as you think of for these applicants, having their representative be able to jump on during their meeting versus driving to Sturbridge, sitting and then going back, there is some cost savings that does help people out too. So that's a benefit as well.
Yeah. All right. Stephen?
Mr. Chair, I make a motion to adjourn.
Eric Gaspar, second.
No discussion? All in favor?
Great, thank you. Hey, everyone.
Good night, guys.
Thanks, Becky.
Have a good week. We'll see you next Tuesday.